Oh, hey, what's up? I'm really tired. Hi.
I'm doing pretty good, just playing some Minecraft, doing some call-ins. Had a chud leftist, I suppose, someone who thinks PewDiePie is a racist, but thinks that transgender people are bad because
Well, it depends on the
sports.
transgender person, doesn't it?
Good meme. I mean,
Uh, should buy me a pizza.
fuck.
I'm like every other American. Oh,
Sorry, creeper. Reggie in chat. You're in YouTube chat right now, but you were like I could not like appeal to you with any like logical argument. Like you just kept saying, "But do you think it's okay? Do you think it's okay?" And like you were making some real yikes. People wanted you out of the call. People were saying kick you. So I was like, "All right, it's getting a bit too much." Sorry about that, but yeah. All right, what's going on?
feed me.
You want pizza?
Yeah, I'm like every other American where I'm too poor to like buy my own food, but too hungry to live, and also too lazy to just make it myself. So like,
Is this are we about to get into the fucking seize the means of production memes? Is that what we're about to get?
your chat is saying that liberals can't be true leftists based on their support of capitalism, and I'm not
Uh,
sure I understand this meme.
no, yeah, no. Being if you're like pro capitalism, I don't think you can be a leftist, and most
What
liberals
does pro-capitalism mean? I'm not even sure I understand what that.
that you're completely fine with the current status quo, the capitalist system that we currently live under, and you are rather like most liberals are reformists of the capitalist system. Like they don't necessarily like how it is, but they want to make it better. But leftists believe that you can't reform a system that's built on the like literally found the foundation of it is the oppression of the working class, and that it can't be changed, it needs to be torn down, and something else needs to be built in its place. While liberals are kind of like, oh, we can just sort of change it to make it better. But yeah, so
Well,
liberals, yeah,
wouldn't I mean isn't getting abolishing it all sort of kind of a fundamental change? This feels like a weird semantic distinction to say that they're supportive of capitalism, they're supportive of the status quo system of economics, but also advocating for a reform of it, right?
yeah. I mean, you can advocate for the reform of it, but that makes you not a leftist. You're a reformist.
But why would you wouldn't say this about anarcho-syndicalists, right? Anarcho-syndicalists are capitalists, but they're considered leftists.
How are they capitalists?
They favor a worker co-op as a yeah, they favor worker
Well,
co-ops.
everything would be when I'm not a huge like expert on that, but isn't it like everything would be run by like syndicates?
I thought syndicates were just worker co-ops, but maybe I'm not
I
understanding.
think they're like way stronger, like way more power goes to the worker in a syndicate. That's my understanding.
Are socialists leftists? Like socialists don't really favor the abolishment of capitalism. Is that?
Yeah, socialists would fall more on leftism, I believe.
But
Oh no,
why?
no, they're socialists. Hold on, wait, chat is socialist leftist? People in chat are saying yeah. Syndicalism is a form of socialism. Okay, people are saying yes. Okay, yeah, chat says yes.
So it just can't be in opposition to capitalism itself. You can be a reformist for capitalism and still be leftist, then, right? Socialism is a reform to capitalism.
Not necessarily, no. Socialism is not well, like most any ask any socialist and they'll say no because they all agree that you can't reform capitalism, a system that's built
I like
like
how your chat is in such disagreement on this. Like this, just I'm sorry to interrupt. This seems to make leftism just such a vacuous, like label politically. Like when there's no agreement about what it encompasses.
well, yeah, that's the problem. Most of the things that leftists like myself and many others advocate for hasn't really been done in the real world. It's a lot of theory and whatnot, so that's why there's so much like disagreement, which I
All right.
completely understand. But it's like, I mean, that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to strive for something better.
Well, yeah, but I think even capitalists would say we should try to strive for something better. I think other than reactionaries, most people would say we always should strive for something.
Well, yeah, but if you're talking about like a capitalist wanting to strive for something better, they're usually striving for like reform. Like Destiny, for example, is very pro-capitalism because, in my opinion, like my why I think he's pro-capitalism is because he makes a ton of money under capitalism and he doesn't want things to change. But like he also is in favor of like more social programs and whatnot. He's like a reformist. He doesn't like the current system. He wants it to be changed, but he doesn't want it to be replaced. And that's the issue. That's the difference between like a liberal and a leftist.
I'm just
And then
curious under this.
oh,
Oh,
sorry.
after you, sir. I'm sorry.
Oh, so and also what I've seen is, oh, my armor just broke because of those fucking thorn bushes. Um,
So this is hilarious.
yeah, Minecraft. And yeah, so from what I've also seen is, generally when push comes to shove, liberals will usually side with fascism. When push to comes to shove, like they'd rather like take most. I think most liberals, your like average like fucking white liberal Bernie bro, if they started marching the streets and like hanging all the black people under Trump's orders, they would not join leftists and like non-white people in like marching through the streets to try to fight back. They'd
Whoa,
sit back and
really?
be
Like,
like,
where do you get this?
I mean, like that's the take that I get from a lot of liberals. I mean, Destiny himself even said,
A lot of liberals are
like,
saying they would support fascists and hanging black people
no,
in the
that's just
street.
what ends up happening, and some of them even admit it. That's what's end up happening historically. Even so, if we talk about even like the white moderate, like even Martin Luther King has talked about, like in practice they have acted this
Yeah,
way.
they're
But take Destiny for example, for like a really good example of a liberal who you would consider pretty far left for a liberal. He's even said that if the rednecks under Trump started like shooting all the leftists and whatnot, he'd be taking their side. He would choose the side of the rednecks who know how to use a gun over the leftists who spend their time drinking lattes and shit any day or something like that. I have a clip of it from his
I don't
last
think that's
stream.
exactly what Destiny said. I'd have to go look for the tweet, but I think what he said
No, it
was
wasn't a tweet. It
a
was on
lot of
stream.
leftists like to talk. Well, I think what he said was like a lot of leftists like to talk about revolution and fantasize about it in a way that they never prepare for compared to conservatives. The conservatives are like constantly like conservatives join militias. Conservatives are like really crazy about gun culture in a way leftists just fundamentally aren't, and
Um,
that's why he said like if it came to a conflict, he thinks conservatives would win. I don't think he said he endorsed that.
I think most leftists are, from what I've seen, I can't, obviously I don't have like stats for this, and I don't think there exist stats for this. Most leftists that I've seen are pretty like pro-gun, and they usually want to be able to, and they think about like actual revolution all the time because they are completely convinced. That's another huge part of leftism. Most of them are convinced that there is no changing the current system without there being a violent revolution. It's literally necessary, and so they're constantly preparing for it because that's inevitable. And so they're like really pro-gun and whatnot. It's the liberals who are the ones that will want reform and aren't prepared to ever resort to any type of violence or revolution. Like most leftists in chat right now are saying I'm pro-gun.
Well, so I want to go back to the whole liberals like end up supporting fascism thing.
Mm-hmm.
Are you? I'm wondering if this is a proper way to frame this. If you would say that liberals, through their ineptitude, through their, I guess, relaxed stance when it comes to weapons, would be completely complacent in a fascist takeover. Like I don't understand. Like
Yeah.
the principles of fascism and the principles of liberalism are fundamentally at odds with each other. So I don't understand how you get to this.
The problem is that liberals are usually they talk a big game a lot of the time, and they want things to like they have good intentions, but they're also pretty far towards the center to the point where if push did come to shove, they probably wouldn't stick their neck out all that much for people who would be disadvantaged if it meant their life was on the line. While leftists seem to have like a very, from my experience, seem to have a very have a way bigger stake in what's going on. Like, there's literally people have been sending me in chat like fucking articles about leftist movement, like armed leftist militias in other countries and stuff like right now. While like your average liberal, it just kind of advocates for calm discussion, you know.
Well, I would see that as a good thing. Wouldn't you want to preserve any kind of a peaceful and civic transformation, right? Like if you could fundamentally transform society for the better, wouldn't it be better to do it in a peaceful and civil way?
Well, the question here is if I could, and I don't. I personally used to think, yeah, sure, like calm civil discussion can make big change, but then I realized that the change that we would end up causing isn't really that significant. Thank you, Tenna Grace, for the sub. Isn't really that significant. So I'm not really under the impression anymore that I would be able to cause any meaningful change with like calm discussion and rational, debate. I think it does take wait, really quick.
Would you like?
We've talked about it. We've talked a complete teardown of capitalism with something hopefully more socialist taking over. I haven't 100% narrowed down my current like stance. I don't know if I'm like a socialist or anarcho-syndicalist and whatnot, but to tear down that entire system and whatnot, nothing that's like, oh shit, sorry, my game's like frozen. Hold on. My game just crashed?
Yeah, you're dead.
Okay, no, I'm good, I'm good. Oh, fuck. I thought my game crashed. I'm actually going to leave the game and then go back into it just to make sure it saves my world, because I don't want to lose all my progress, because that does happen. PIGPUNCHER during Kristallnacht and other Nazi attacks on minority peoples, around 80% of the population did nothing, and the vast majority of people that did something were leftist. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But no, I generally lean more towards the idea that for real, like massive amounts of change to happen, it would probably take more. It would be leftists, those who are more willing to resort to violence and like physical action, rather than sit by and let things just stay the same. That would actually end up causing a lot of change,
I'm not convinced by this. I think if you have to impose violence to enact your change, you're going to find that people are fundamentally uncommitted to it, right? You're people who otherwise, if they were.
You wouldn't be enacting violence on like normal people. You'd be enacting violence on fascists.
I'm saying you would, but I'm saying like if there were a communist takeover of the United States right now, most people wouldn't side with the communists, right? Even if your ideas are good, there is no organic transformation of the people's political ideology to that of a communist ideology, right? To that of an appropriately leftist ideology.
Sure. Well, I don't care what most people think. Most people are cunts. Whatever.
True that.
I mean, that's the problem. Like, I don't care what most of the people necessarily would want when it came to like a communist revolution. The idea of what I'm doing right now isn't necessarily to I'm not like out in the street right now with a gun like trying to cause the communist revolution. I'm trying to educate people so that they will also want a communist revolution. So when that does happen, most people will actually side with a communist revolution. But at the moment, yeah, I completely agree. Most people are cunts who would probably side with capitalism and fight against the communist revolution.
Well, if you can convince people, there wouldn't be a need for a revolution in the first place, would there? You could just
no, because the people that are in power. Because my job is to convince the people. The people who are in power are capitalists, people who run the system. It would be a revolution done by the people against the man, I guess you could say, the system.
Gotcha. So who do you like for 2020, since they're all evil capitalist dictators who will give us over to fascism?
I'm gonna be honest, I still like Bernie, but I still am of the opinion that if it came down to... I know you're gonna be mad. We talked about this when I was playing WoW a few months ago, but I'm still leaning more towards Bernie. What
would Bernie Sanders have to do for you to dislike it?
Probably rape somebody in the street would be one of the many things he could do.
Really? Your bar is that low?
No, I'm just saying. No, I mean, I still disagree with Bernie on a lot of things, but he seems to be lines up with a lot of the things that I see. Like you have to understand, I'm not like a big Bernie bro fan. Like I wouldn't just get on my knees and just start deep throating Bernie's dick. But
though.
I mean, you're not wrong. We gotta say it. Fuck, I lost my nether portal. Chat, help. Fuck, I lost my nether portal. Shit, did I bring any obsidian? I brought just enough obsidian. Oh my god, I'm a G. Holy shit. I almost just got trapped in the nether forever. Holy fuck. I brought just enough obsidian. That's literally, oh my god. Chat, can I get fucking hypers in chat, boys? Sorry, I had to express my amazement. Thank you, Tiago Dotrelimpon, for subbing. Yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
We were talking about all the reasons Bernie Sanders is inadequate, and yet you want to deep...
Oh, compared to the other candidates, he's not inadequate. I mean, he's not my ideal, he's not my ideal candidate that I would, create in a Build-A-Bear workshop of, political candidates, but he's definitely better than most. Or than all of them. Every other policy that I've seen from the other candidates so far has had me okay. I'm very pragmatic in the sense that I don't think Bernie's gonna win. I'm gonna be honest with you. I still don't think Bernie's going to win. However, he is out of everybody else, he is my ideal person.
I'm sorry, is he going to win or not going to win?
I said pragmatically speaking, I probably don't think he's going to win.
Oh yeah, probably not.
Yeah,
Okay, but why is he your ideal person?
just this policy that I've read so far doesn't like lines up way better than everything else I've seen. Like we can go through them if you want, like the different candidates.
Yeah, sure. Which
Okay.
policies in particular?
Okay, so like we'll start with Yang. I went on stream and I read a bunch of Yang's policies, and at first I was like, these don't seem too bad. Then I realized, oh, he's all about like the fucking. Isn't he like supportive of all the shit happening at the border or something, or is he like super pro anti-immigration?
He wants to keep the electoral college so far.
Yeah, so there's plenty like Yang. No, was it Elizabeth Warren? I watched barely any of it, but I watched some of the Democratic debate, and it was like good one, Yang. And like I think it was Elizabeth Warren like said a lot of words, but didn't say anything at all. Basically, like she was saying, well, we need to change this, we need to look more into this, we need to think about this, but never proposed any actual policy. So I was like, okay, fuck off. About Sanders? Well, that's the problem. From what I saw, Sanders was getting a lot of like smear questions, and he for some reason didn't point them out as smear questions and just like.
What's a smear question? What smear questions did he get?
He was asking. They were asking him what his thoughts were on things that he or why he supported things he didn't support. That was my. That's from my understanding. That's what was happening. He wasn't calling them out for some reason.
Rachel Maddow quoted him exactly. He said that gun violence should be a matter handled by the states. He said it was specifically a state issue. That is something he supported, right? He might run away from it now, but she quoted.
Yeah, but these are bad. These are bad faith questions. Like they're meant to smear him in a way that most candidates weren't experiencing. I would say. So, for example, I wouldn't hold. Fuck. Did I just wait? Oh shit. Okay. So yeah. Sorry. I wouldn't hold that over his head when he says like a state. Like your opinions can change. You know. It wasn't.
Sure, I agree.
Wait, people in chat are saying that's from like 2013 too. Like they were meant to be questions to smear him because
they're really recently though. 2013 is not that long ago.
That's
it's a position. Like,
that's over one election ago though.
Well, people are still holding Biden accountable for the busing. Is that fair?
I would argue yes, because Biden's takes are still pretty similar, and there's no evidence to go off that he's changed his mind. While Bernie, there is quite a bit to go off saying that he doesn't really hold those views anymore. The thing is, like, I wouldn't hold him accountable to that because, like, in 2016, I was an alt-righter, and now in 2019, I'm a leftist. Like, I don't know if I would hold something so small.
You're young. You have time to develop politically. Bernie Sanders is in his late 70s. By now,
Yeah.
he should have his positions pretty much.
Yeah, well, Bernie seems like he's a little more in touch with, like, he seems more susceptible to changing his mind more so than Biden. Would you agree with that? Like, Biden seems a little more, like, he has his shit laid out compared to Bernie. Sorry, what?
Well, he might, but I'm not really convinced that's a virtue. And I don't mean this like a knock on you, but one thing I've observed in my time doing politics is that when your candidate changes his mind, it's because he's open-minded. And when the guy you don't like changes his mind, it's because he's a dirty flip-flopper, right? Because he has no real...
Wait,
he's not really loyal to anything.
I've never said that. If a candidate changes their mind on something, then cool. That means, in my opinion, that means that they're susceptible to changing their mind on something if they have evidence put forward that says they should. That's something I find to be good, whether I agree with them or not. Like, if Donald Trump all of a sudden decided that, you know what, I'm actually pro-immigration, I'd be like, oh, cool, okay, that's a point for Trump. Like, I know that sounds weird, but, like, I don't care who the person is or whether or not I supported them before. If they can change their mind to something better, that's good. But my take when it comes to Biden is it doesn't seem like he has changed his mind on all that much. I don't really see a lot of evidence that points to him maybe having changed his mind on that. If you can put some forward, then I'd like to see it.
What do you want him to change his mind on?
For like when he said that it was forced busing to remove to repeal like the segregation stuff. He was one of the people who was using like the Southern strategy of saying it was forced busing. Wasn't he one of those people that you brought that up earlier? Am I thinking of someone else? Yeah.
I don't know who you're thinking of, but his position was that he doesn't think the Department of Education should enforce busing on local school districts. That districts should be responsible for their own busing. If they want to, bus to integrate schools, they should be allowed to do it. It just shouldn't be a matter for the Department of Education.
badly or that negatively affects the black community. Yeah. My take. Holy
That's a different
shit! This
criticism.
teleported me super far from my house. Yeah, no, I don't see any reason necessarily to believe that Biden's changed his mind on that. I haven't seen him like address it. If he has, then well, I haven't seen it. Biden's kind.
Yeah, but I'm honestly not. That's. I mean, it's the same policy position. I know it's not much of a high praise to your audience, but it's the same position Kamala Harris had when she was criticizing him, which is basically it should be handled by local school districts.
Well, yeah,
but I get.
that's another.
I can understand why.
That's another reason why I prefer Bernie over Kamala Harris. People in chat are saying, "Fuck Kamala Harris." Like, yeah, once again, that's another candidate off the list of like why I would prefer Bernie.
Well, I don't prefer Bernie because I think he's evasive. But I think he overpromises an agenda that he knows he can't deliver because it's politically easy to do so. And this was like directed to him during the debate by Lester Holt. I don't remember the guy, the Republican. He's asked him like how he's going to institute a Medicare for all plan, and he gives him like examples of states that have tried it and failed it in all 3 states. And Bernie Sanders' answer was essentially, "It happens when millions of Americans demand it happens," or something like that. Something like so vapid and empty.
So
if
my
you're in my Discord, you probably saw me bitching about it at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I usually spend all my time in my own Discord, but yeah, I might have seen it. My take on that is that we're in a state right now where we could have a pretty lefty president, and regardless of what they tried to put through, if it was it was something like, universal healthcare or something, I feel like the massive amounts of conservatives that are in power would probably put a stop to it. So that's probably what happened in like a lot of those states. I'm not 100% I'm not completely aware on those issues, but fuck, I'm getting shot.
Well, I think it's important to be aware of those issues. Barack Obama had a supermajority in 2009. He could only get healthcare reform passed without a public option, right? He had all the backing Bernie Sanders could ever want, and he couldn't even accomplish major health. He accomplished major healthcare reform, but he couldn't even do it with a public option. Like the soft version of single payer, he couldn't.
Okay.
Which is why I'm committed to the idea that Bernie Sanders overpromises and has, these are questions you should be challenged on. When you're going to promise like Medicare for all to the American people as part of your resume to become president, and you're asked how you institute it, and you give an answer as empty as, well, it'll happen when millions of Americans demand it to happen, there's no reason I should elect you. You're just saying things to get elected.
Sure. I mean, I can. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, I found a village. Nice. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. But the problem here is, wait, what the fuck? Sorry, I'm discovering new things in Minecraft right now, and it's blowing me away.
I see. I'm watching you.
What the fuck? Wait, how do I know when it's cooked?
Torn apart by a rose bush just a second ago. It was pretty amazing.
Hold on, wait. When do I know that the meat's cooked, chat?
Does it ding?
Like I don't know. It's on a fire. It's like on a. I thought maybe it was possible, and it's happening. I'm doing it. It's happening, chat. Fuck. Oh yeah, it just pops right off. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I can just put my meat on here, and it cooks it 4 at a time. Nice.
Yeah, just put your meat on there.
Hell yeah, just fucking slap my meat right on that fucking fire. Hell yeah. Yeah, no. Could you repeat your question again?
So what I said was that I don't see any reason why Bernie Sanders should be elected if he cannot explain any meaningful way to go about accomplishing his agenda.
Sure. I mean, you can have that criticism, but my take is that it seems like Bernie still has, like, even if he cannot or does not know how to achieve what he wants to achieve, his takes and his goals are still way better than that of the other candidates, and that's why I prefer him. Like, I'm not, like I said, I probably could figure out, like, I could look up some research to, like, I could do some research and probably combat you on, like, specific issues that he can achieve very easily, but I haven't looked into it enough at the moment, I've been meaning to do a stream where I look more into that, but, I mean, still, my whole take is that Bernie seems to be the best of everybody on the roster right now. What the fuck? Why can't I... Okay,
you could do that research, and I believe you could confidently do it, and you could present it to me, and I could be swayed. My issue is that Bernie Sanders hasn't done that research. My issue is that every time Bernie Sanders is asked a question like this, he never gives an answer on a substantive, tell me that you're going to hold Republican tax cuts hostage to get what you want, right? Tell me some sort of a strategy to get what you want. He never does this. He really just says, it'll happen if the people believe in it, sort of answer. And I'll
Sure.
give you an interview if you want to go over it from Chris Matthews on Hardball, asking him basically the same question, to which he basically says something to the effect of, Mitch McConnell, you should just look out the window and see the millions of people who are demanding it, or something like that. It's like, why would Mitch McConnell care?
Sure. I think a lot of the way Bernie sort of. Okay, so usually when it comes to the way that a candidate tries to rally people or tries to inform people on their policy is usually really dumb. I usually just try to go off of what their like website says, because a lot, like, if you look at somebody, let's be honest, political candidates, if they're smart, they're gonna talk like fucking morons, because most people are morons, and that's how they're gonna appeal to people. Look at the way Trump talks, and look at how smart people think he is. So usually, if it comes to like the way Bernie talks about his policy positions, I don't want to go off of that too much, because he's going to talk in a way that's going to appeal to people. I'd rather go off of like what are his policy positions and vote for who has the best policy positions. At the end of the day, it's not the perfect way to like elect somebody, but it's how you're going to get the person whose ideals are most in line with your own.
Sure. I guess I'm just not convinced that, a candidate who has to dumb down his language for the lowest common denominator is a virtue. Like, I think if you're going to be the education candidate, you should talk like you have an education, or maybe I should say speak like you have an education before you correct me.
No, it's all good. Yeah, no. Well, my main point is that I don't really go off of, and it's definitely not the lowest common denominator. It's the lowest, well, the highest common numerator, I suppose. I mean, to switch it around. The problem here is, I get it. Like Bernie Sanders, you can like pull up an image of him saying some dumb or something that, like, when you really take it apart, there's no substance to it. Sure, but that's how many political candidates talk, and that's how the most successful political candidates talk to the people, because the people are fucking stupid, or your average person is very stupid, and I'm talking about like the majority of people, not like the lowest common denominator. That's why Trump wins and won, and so many people thought he was so smart. Like, there's a significant amount of people who think he talk, when they hear him talk, they think he's smart, and it's because he talks in the same way that dumb people do. They hear him and they think he's smart. He talks in their level, but I think that Bernie does something kind of similar, but not quite as dumb as Trump. That's why I go to their platforms, and I look at their websites, and I see what their actual policies are that they advocate for, and that's what I try to get my views for, or that's why I try to get my opinions on them from. I don't usually like to listen to like their interviews and stuff, because they're just gonna say whatever sounds good,
I guess. Although I want to correct you on something. I don't think Trump won because people were stupid. I think he won because there was a lot of racial anxiety, which might coalesce with stupidity, I guess. But there's a poll or a survey that came out that basically measured this. If you want, I'll send it to you later. But found that racial anxiety was like the #1 issue driving voters.
Oh yeah, I imagine a lot of racial tensions have been crazy lately when it comes to like especially the Trump election and immigration and whatnot. Don't get me wrong, I'm well aware of that. It's just it seems like when people point at like a lot of the things they don't like about Bernie, it's like, well, look what he said in this interview, look how he flopped in this interview, look how he wasn't able to live up to your standards in this interview, and it's like, well, sure, but when I look at his policy, this is what I prefer over everybody else. So.
Yeah, but do you actually think he would accomplish that policy? Like, shouldn't your attention be on what could be, what could actually be accomplished, as opposed to what looks good on?
So what you're saying right now is like Bernie's my expectations for Bernie are pretty unrealistic, right? That's what you're kind of getting at?
Effectively, like,
yeah.
If you're looking
pragmatically
at
speaking,
no one has an issue with his policy. It's just that he can't accomplish it.
Sure, yeah. Pragmatically speaking, I think most of what Bernie strives for probably in the long run can't be done, at least not like reasonably soon. And I completely acknowledge that. The issue is, I would rather go with the person who has the most policy I agree with, even if they can't achieve it, over somebody who maybe is a little bit realistic, but is going to implement policy I don't like all that much. But don't get me wrong. Oh, shit, emeralds. Don't get me wrong. At the end of the day, if it comes down to, like, Trump and Biden, I'm going to choose Biden. But at the same time, if it comes down to Biden and Bernie, I'm going to choose Bernie, Yeah.
I'm curious, why would you want somebody who shares your policy agenda but can't accomplish their agenda over somebody? Well, I guess you said you prefer Biden, but I guess supporting somebody who has an agenda that they can't accomplish is like supporting nobody at all to me. Like I don't get the point in it.
Well,
You know they're not
problem,
going to accomplish.
it's not as simple as, oh, you elect them and then they can't achieve their agenda. Electing somebody who can, if Bernie can get through at least one of the things that he wants to do, and the American people see it and they're like, oh, actually that was pretty good, I imagine it would lead to a pretty large societal change in the mindset of a lot of people that would be really important. I feel like if we got Bernie elected by just a little bit, which I feel like would have to be how it happens, I think Bernie would probably... I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like if Bernie won, there would still be a massive amount of people who are like, oh, fuck, they're freaking out, there's a communist in office. And then if Bernie went through an entire election and things were just fine, or even got better, then that would do, like, a lot of good for the movement as a whole, you know?
Yeah, I don't disagree. He gets a lot of, like, one good thing about him is he gets a lot of young people engaged in politics, which would be fine if his supporters weren't just so fucking annoying to me. Like, I agree with him on everything, but I just really hate Bernie Bros.
Yeah, Bernie Bros tend to be pretty, like, I mean, they're called Bernie Bros. Like, you got your...
Obnoxious. Yeah. So obnoxious. Just, they whine about everything. It's like, Bernie didn't get enough time on this question. This question was a gotcha. This interview wasn't fair. Like, shut up.
I'm sorry to the Bernie Bros in chat. I'm sorry, but, you know.
Eat me, chat. All right, I'm going to get off and let you get on with your chat. But since I have you real quick, I want to thank you for the shout-out the other day in person, since I have that opportunity now. Thanks for that. That was
no
really
problem.
Cool, dude.
Did you, like, get how much, like, more subs do you get from it?
I had, like, 4 subscribers, and then you said that shout-out, and now I have 1,800 subscribers. It's crazy. Also, my penis grew, like...
Holy shit. Goddamn, well, I'm glad...
That might be unrelated, but...
Well, no, I'm pretty sure it's related. If you're subscribed to me, whether you're a woman or a man, your dick immediately grows to be about 16 times its original size, so that's nice.
That's how it works, dude. You have fun playing Minecraft. Sorry if I'm too problematic.
No, it's all good. It's just like these certain issues are just kind of like... I don't know if I'm always prepared to talk about them, so I just kind of get like, you know?
Oh, bring in Oreo. He's asking to be brought in. He says his burgers are...
Oh, he says, don't choose me yet because my burgers are still cooking, is what he just said.
Yeah, I read that, but it would be funny to pick him. Oh, he's not even in the thing.
Yeah, no, he'll join Q chat.
Yeah, Oreo's a cool dude. You should talk to Oreo.
Yeah, Oreo's awesome. I'll probably have him, like, do a collab with him pretty soon on his channel.
I look forward to it. Peace, love, and rock and roll, my...
You too, Mike.